Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the delay with the McGuire out and a few other things that are a little less fun to discuss, as well as that tweet yesterday and the potential for a surprise at United. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, before I get into any of this in terms of updates today, one of the things that's obviously come out this morning is that there is United have decided to delay the announcement over the outcome of the Mason Greenwood investigation. It was supposed to be by the Wolves game. This is something that came out from them. And as I mentioned, I thought it would be today. And so, of course, now today comes the announcement of a delay, which means it probably was today. And it's there's a lot of things United have done right this summer. This is not one of them. There's so much wrong with the way that this has been approached. And now. And it's hard because I don't know. I don't want to speculate and cast blame on people who don't deserve it. Here's what I look at. There's two things that have been dramatic, drawn out, poorly handled, and have not resulted in a conclusion that leave us as fans frustrated, not understanding, and in the dark. And that's the takeover, and that's the Mason Greenwood situation. And the difference between those two situations and transfers and everything else that's gone on that's actually gone quite well this summer is who makes the decision. The decision on takeover is, of course, being made all the way at the top, and the decision on Mason Greenwood is, of course, being made all the way at the top. And it's unfortunate because no matter how much United improve in certain areas, these things, when it still comes down to the call from the top, the Glazers, what they have to be involved in, it's like night and day, right? The more involvement that there is, the worse the outcome is. And today, to me, is incredibly embarrassing for United. Not just because they've said they're going to do something and didn't do it again. And I'm sure that it's not fun for the people who have to put that message out there to deal with that. And to continue having to deal with the speculation and the players and the fans and everybody to deal with that. But I think there's a lot wrong with the way they went about it too. And I'm sure that strategy comes from the top. I don't know. But the way that this has been framed today essentially says, whatever the outcome is, the women at Manchester United have made the call. That's how it comes across by being said at this latest stage, which doesn't totally make sense because there's been many reports that they already have consulted the women at Manchester United and that they have concerns over the return of Mason Greenwood or the potential return of Mason Greenwood. Saying we're going to delay it because we want to consult them says either you didn't think to do it earlier, which is weird, or you're putting it on them. And all that's going to do is put a target on their back, because if he comes back, it makes it look like they've approved it, whether they have or they haven't. And if he doesn't come back, they're going to get abuse from a lot of people who want to see Mason Greenwood return. And that shouldn't be the case. Wherever you stand on the Mason Greenwood situation, do not. And if you do, it's ridiculous and you are in the wrong. Level this on the women at Manchester United because it is not them. It is not their call and it shouldn't be. For all the right reasons, it shouldn't be. that it's not their responsibility to make these kind of calls. And I'm bothered by it, and I'm bothered by the fact that I don't know who's to blame for this, whether it's the club or the journalists, but copy pasted in both Jamie Jackson's and Samuel Luckhurst's articles was a statement that they were going to consult the women's team, and then names of players who were at the World Cup, and included 2 players who haven't been with United for a month that were released this summer. And it's kind of baffling how one can try to put out a message, and I don't know who's at fault for this. The journalists should have done better research because they're the ones who published it. Let's just put it that way. At the very least, it's them. Because if you're putting an article out about that they're going to consult with these women at United to respect them and get their input, and you can't do the research to figure out who are the women that are at United, it's kind of mind-blowing. So the whole situation has left me a bit unhappy with things right now, because I feel that there's a constant need and a want to wait for the right moment for this. And something I tell people, and I've said to people many times as part of my job, in dealing with people in business and things like that, is there's never a good time for bad news. You just have to deal with it when it comes. And it's going to be bad news, whatever the announcement is for the club, because it's a bad situation. And so I don't envy the people dealing with it, but the people at the top need to stop making it worse, because they are. And that's all I have to say about it right now, because it's a bothersome situation. Moving on to, let me go back to that. Moving on to McGuire. A couple things I said in a video a few days ago was, number one, they're still working on that wage package, but it is absolutely correct that United are still lining up the replacements, and they're not going to finalize this deal for McGuire unless they're sure they can get a replacement in. And that has been reported as well now, and that is a part of the process. And I think that's what I said in a video a couple of days ago, why it'll probably be more like Tuesday, Wednesday. Over the weekend, they're going to continue working on Pavard or Todibo, and they will not let McGuire go or get it all sorted until that happens. He's a part of the team. They might need him this weekend, so he's not going to be having talks directly with David Moyes and with West Ham and working on his contract. The agents will deal with that mostly anyway, but he is not going to be doing that. United will want him focused because he may have to play. You don't know. What if Varane picks up an injury and this happens and you need to sub? You don't know. McGuire may have a part to play, and so they need him focused. So they're going to be working on those replacements, and then ideally right after the Wolves game, they'll be able to move forward on what they need to do. In terms of replacements, obviously it's still the same 2 names. We haven't yet been given clarification, and I think that is essentially the situation, is that they're still observing both the Pavard and Todibo situation. Maybe there's more names, I don't know, and seeing which one is, they may like both, but weighing up costs, things like that, and then making the final call. So they're still weighing that up. They're still working on it. And given the deadline of the Premier League, which is essentially passed, I believe, they're not going to make changes today. And so it's going to likely occur on Tuesday. They'll say, or over the weekend, they'll define the targets, line up the deal in terms, and Tuesday they'll say, good, McGuire, you go deal with this. We're going to line this deal up. And the moment that's agreed, we send our contract, our offers and contracts over. It should move pretty quickly early next week, but they're still looking to make the call and make the decision on who, and that'll help. But even if they've now made the decision, it's going to be very tight until after the Wolves game. And so I wouldn't expect necessarily to hear anything major until then. Obviously, things do leak out, but the major story going out there from journalists and things around United will likely come after the Wolves game. So for the starting 11, this on Monday, obviously on Monday itself, given that it's a Monday game and in the evening and all of that, probably you'll have some information on what the team will be by then. But I think the team picks itself, right? You know it's going to be Shaw, it's going to be Martinez, it's going to be Varane, it's going to be Onana, it's going to be Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno, and Rashford and Antony are starting. It leaves two questions: Dallo or Wan-Bissaka, and Garnacho or Sancho, and how that front three is made up. My opinion is that it will be Sancho and Wan-Bissaka. You've seen a lot this last week about Wan-Bissaka doing an interview, getting a new contract, how he's worked his way back in. I think Dallo got a shot with the first team after Wan-Bissaka played with them all preseason, and it did not go well, unfortunately. And I think that it's going to be Wan-Bissaka in that starting 11 and his spot to lose to go forward. It obviously could be matchup dependent. Wolves just sacked their manager. I think they're going to sit deep, but that's also why I see Jadon Sancho. And this isn't an insult to Alejandro Garnacho in the slightest. He plays amazing. He's done really well in these tight spaces. I think you're really going to want to have Jadon Sancho playing and creating for the runs of Mount and Bruno. These are where they can thrive in the box under this Ten Hag system, where we should end up with a lot of possession in the final third. So that's what I think. I think that's going to be an indication of where things are at. But let's see moving forward. I want to know your thoughts. But from a lot of what I hear, I would suspect it'll be Sancho and Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, I don't know. The team's probably not been picked yet. It's Friday, right? So we'll have to wait and see there. But that's what I would go with to start the year. I think those are the players who are probably the most, no injury issues. They're in form. They played a lot with the first team. They're kind of ready to go, and that's who I would go with. And the bench, and then the other thing is off the bench. You want game changers. I don't think Jadon Sancho is a game changer off the bench. I don't think he fits that role. I think Garnacho is. He's proven it time and time again. He can come off the bench and do something. If you have Sancho on the bench, I don't think you have as much firepower to come in and change the game. And that's the other consideration that I would have. I'd rather start with Sancho and have someone like Garnacho to come in and do something off the bench if you need a change. But the options are limited. Garnacho or Sancho and Pellistri will be the only attackers on the bench. Maybe Martial, barely fit, no preseason. Not a lot of options off the bench. In the midfield, very slim. Maybe Van de Beek, maybe McTominay and Eriksen. Obviously, Fred should be gone. It's not clear, but apparently he was going to travel today. In the back line, obviously, it's a bit better. You've still got Lindelof. You've still got, I think, Alvaro Fernandez will be in the team because Malacia is not well yet. Wan-Bissaka and Dallo. And then a goalkeeper, you have this crazy situation where both Tom Heaton and Dean Henderson are injured, and Vitek, and Bishop is gone, and Kovar is gone. So we have one goalkeeper. So yeah, the bench is going to be it's going to be a weird bench for starting the season. And obviously something that United will hope to improve, but obviously it's kind of like a mini injury crisis, not a major one. But, when Højlund comes back, when they sign, likely a midfielder, when they replace McGuire, when Malacia comes back, and when Heaton or Henderson is healthy, obviously it looks a lot different. Obviously, there's been some crazy drama across the Premier League today and last night, including signings, which is wild. Harry Kane going to Bayern finally. After all this time, Harry Kane has left the Premier League. And it's such a crazy thing. It's still almost unbelievable. I don't know what situation that leaves Tottenham in, but I think this is, again, where Daniel Levy's stubbornness and inflexibility really costs them, because it's so late now. They could have accepted deals before. They could have worked with it. They could have had time to replace Harry Kane. Tottenham are going to struggle, and I think they're going to struggle pretty mightily after relying on Kane for all this time, but we'll see. And then the Caicedo thing is incredible. Obviously, it looked like it was done to Liverpool finally for £110 million. And then he says, hey, I actually want to join Chelsea. Chelsea are building a good team. It's one of the reasons why I included them in the top four. in my predictions. I think they're building a good team. I think they lack, obviously, in certain areas, but I think they're building a good team that's very suited to Pochettino. I think they're going to have one of the best midfields with Enzo, potentially Caicedo with these signings. It's a good midfield, and that can run a game. And Pochettino has done that in the past with Tottenham, where with the quality midfielders, guys like Musa Dembele and Eriksen and such that he had in there, how he was able to do things. I think this is one of his strengths, and why I think they'll have a good team. I think they'll have a better season than people think now, despite all the craziness, especially if they can get another forward in after Nkunku's injury. So obviously a lot still going on there. That could change kind of the makeup of the market in the window. And then the last thing I want to talk about is obviously, yes, I've mentioned, here's the funny part, okay? Yesterday, obviously, tweeted last night the train with the thing, and then I made jokes in Discord about engagement and things like that, and people got really uptight about it, which is silly, because the reason I made that joke is because the tweet was getting like insane interactions. So I joked that it's about making money on Twitter. It's not. The thing that I've made jokes about before and that I find ridiculous about Twitter, I said this with Højlund, is one time I tweeted Højlund with eyes, no info, and it got like insane interactions and likes and all of that, and it bothers me. And so it's sort of, when I tweet something vague and stupid like that, it's almost a meta criticism of the situation and the way that Twitter is because people buy into so much dumb shit that's tweeted vaguely. With the takeover, I've talked about it so many times, how some random person will tweet some vague little thing and people will go crazy about it and think it's like this huge deal. And I tell people, don't do it. And I've made it very, very clear. And so I understand that some people get very excited about, which is true. Here's the thing. I didn't tweet the vague thing because there isn't truth. So I'll talk about that. But don't get so agitated by vague shit. It's insane to me that I could tweet something like that and it's got like 5,000 interactions, and I'll tweet really good, well-sourced information on McGuire, on the deal being closed, or on Fred and Turkey coming in, and it's got like very little. And it's not about the interactions. It's more just like a critique. This is just my humor. It's just a critique of the way that things are done. And so I make jokes about it and things like that too. However, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I have talked about Tchouaméni, which obviously the train thing referencing Tchouaméni, right? I've talked about Tchouaméni on the videos. I've already explained the situation, where it's at, that there's a low chance of it, that there's a lot of dominoes that would have to fall, a lot of things that would have to happen. But the reason I actually tweeted that yesterday is that I got confirmation from somewhere else that was a very, very solid source that what I'd heard was true, and that it had been even minorly discussed or broached by both clubs as a possibility because of some of the scenarios and things that are going on and concerns earlier in the window, and that it was true that it's been discussed in even the tiniest fashion, and there's a good relationship between the clubs, and it doesn't mean a deal is happening, it doesn't mean it's on the table, but that information was true, and I would still give it this tiny modicum of a chance that it's true, or that it will happen, but I don't think it will. I would keep an eye on it for next summer. I would genuinely say I'll keep an eye on it for next summer, because we'll need another midfielder next summer, most likely, and I would keep an eye on it. The other thing is that there is a real scenario lining up, and this is part of the reason why I tweeted it, that I found, where United are still looking to do a lot. Get a goalkeeper in, they're still looking at doing that. Get a center back, obviously. And in the midfield, if they can move a bit more and raise a bit more money, and they've done pretty well on sales, they are still looking at bringing in a more expensive midfielder. And that's why the Tchouaméni thing is like, I'm still bringing it up. There's also Onana from Everton. There may be other names too. I've been told that, yes, a lot is progressing on Amrabat. It's not confirmed that they're going to go for him. It is not 100%. They have other options that are more expensive, that are more interesting. They've made contacts with Lavia in the past, Onana at Everton, Tchouaméni. These are why these things are mentioned. And there's a small chance, United have done really well with this, there's a small chance they could go for a bigger midfield signing that's more of a long-term replacement than Amrabat, who's a good player, but will still require another signing in the future, or betting that everything goes really, really, really great with Kobbie Mainoo and he doesn't keep having injuries. So it is something to keep an eye on. It was not actually just bait. It's just when I post something vague like that, it's because there's not a bunch of solid info to post. It's just for fun. Have fun with it. Go crazy. It doesn't matter. That's the point of it. Have fun. But don't take these vague things so seriously and get all uptight about it, okay? That's all I would say. All right. So anyway, that's what I have for today. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. Let me know your feelings about all of this below, everything that I've covered today from the start to the finish. And let's enjoy the kickoff of the Premier League. Talk to you later.